Yep. Wasn't that guy drove into a crowd? A crowd or something?
Sean, would you like this while you're standing up? And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joe Lavrance,
Who has been duly elected to the Fond du Lac School District School Board,
who has been duly elected to the Fond du Lac School Board,
but has not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but has not yet entered upon the duties above,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Wisconsin,
swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties
of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks. Oh.
I need my glasses so I can see them.
Thank you.
Need my readers.
Congratulations. Thank you.
You just need one, right?
Very good. Thank
All right,
you.
thanks.
Yep, welcome. The April 22nd, 2024 regular meeting of the Fond du Lac Board of Education is now called to order at 5:01 PM. Can we have the roll, please?
Godfrey,
Here.
Henschel,
Here.
Horth here, Lavrans,
Here.
Motor, Panow. Here. Schreider.
Here. We have now established a quorum. We are going to move to the moment of reflection, which will be preceded by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me now. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Before we move forward with our regular board meeting, with this being our first board meeting with Mark and Joe, we will do our yearly election of officers to see who will lead and be part of this group. So,
First ballot is for seat of president, and Mr. Godfrey and Mr. Schrader. The elected president will be Mr. Todd Schrader. Next is for vice president.
thank you. Need my Inspector Gadget arms. Got to do a motion. Well, we haven't accepted all of us yet. We have a motion in order to,
I move the Board of Education, based on the results of the secret ballot, declare the following be duly elected as officers of the Board of Education for the following year, effective April 22nd, 2024, and formally and immediately assume their respective positions. President Todd Schreider, Vice President Mark Henschel, Secretary Clerk Brittany Horth, Treasurer Antonio Godfrey.
Second.
we have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey to approve the election of officers. Could we have a roll call, please?
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel.
Yes.
Horth, yes. Laverens,
Yes.
Pinal,
yes,
Schreider.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, everybody. Now I'm going to clap. All right. We are going to, one announcement today. Following adjournment of the regular meeting, the board will convene in an executive session to consider the administration's recommendation to non-renew an individual teacher contract as provided for in Wisconsin statutes 19.85, subsection 1, C, and F. With that being said, we have now moved on to our first public comment opportunity of the evening. Please remember, 10 minutes per topic, 5 minutes per person. I am once again going to reference 0.167.3, public comment at board meetings, reminding our participants that the presiding officer is guided by the following rules. Letter F, all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question the board members individually. Letter G, the presiding officer will interrupt, warn, or terminate if the participant's statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. The presiding officer will request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. The presiding officer will request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. And finally, the presiding officer will call for a recess or an adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. That being said, it is now open for public comment.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Gedimer of 49 Aurora Lane, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm going to share some opinions, and I represent only myself, no other agency or organization. First, congratulations, Joe. Congratulations, Mark, and thank you all for your public service on the school board. Schools are a growing mechanism as an institution. A lot of times, what happens in institutions, organizations, is when new members come in, there can be changes in what's important. I think the last 3 years in the Fond du Lac School District has shown an immense amount of growth. And so what I wanted to come to today is simply to share and to recommend for current ongoing members as well as the new members, go and read the Wisconsin statutes, Chapter 118 regarding public schools. A lot of people don't like to read legal stuff. If I can read it, anybody can read it. And I always suggest to people when they read it like a book. Don't jump around and go to all the sub-references. Read it a couple of times, and then the second or third time if you want to jump to the sub-references. But I want to just touch on, first, public schools started in Massachusetts in the 1600s, basically because they felt that students coming out with some proper education have a foot up. Same thing exists today. Some important things. What's the purpose of public education? To educate. 118.01 sub 2 says educational goals. And the goals are really clear in here. The first one is A, and I'm not going to read it, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase. The first section's about academic skills and knowledge. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's what public schools are about. Analytical skills, being able to analyze things. That's the second. The third is basic body of knowledge, which includes things like literature. I struggled with that. Fine arts, math, natural sciences, things like that. This fourth area under academic skills is the skills and attitudes to further their lifelong intellectual activity. You know, we know that lifelong learners generally have better mental health outcomes than folks that just kind of stop learning. So we want to instill that passion. Knowledge in computer sciences. Then the second part, B in this section, goes on to vocational skills. Vocational, requiring skills and abilities to be developed for entry-level jobs. positive work attitudes, job-specific vocational training. The next section, citizenship, to understand the workings of government. And I think that's an area across the United States could really be bolstered. You know, when I graduated 8th grade, wow, I knew how government worked, wholly, fully, and had to give reports after reports to prove it. Thank you, Mr. Keefe, Appleton Public Schools. A commitment to the basic values of our government, skills to participate in political life, and understanding the functions of an organization. On and on it goes. The next part, D, is personal development. Skills needed to cope with social change, very important. Things are changing all the time. Knowledge of the human body to maintain lifelong health, including the knowledge of theory, physical education, different things like that, nutrition, the value of foods, dietary guidelines, hygiene. So take a look and read these things, because what's important is the things that aren't listed in here. Those are the things which, in my opinion, corrupt school districts, and I'm not going to list them, but we know what's going on in America these days. And we need to keep that stuff out. The law is clear of what the needs of the students are, and the board is responsible. And if you ever hear, as board members, you're also political members. So what that means is if you are reading some proposals in Madison that don't really bode to local values of this community, Fond du Lac, the city of Fond du Lac, it's your jobs to get down there and talk to the legislators and say, hey, no. Or actually even ask for audience, but you probably won't get it to the governor. So I just want to make everyone aware of that and restate what the goals are, and take a look at 118. I'm not going to bore you with the finer details. Welcome, and welcome back, Mark. Take care. Good luck, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gedimer.
Hello, Jim Hess. Thank you. Kenosha Unified School District, I feel, handled a 7th grade male science teacher sexting a 13-year-old girl cavalierly. He was grooming the young girl, and it appears there was no rush to get to the bottom of the crime. Her parents were not notified immediately, but rather they want to keep it in-house. This is what Act 10 has done, savings to the taxpayers. For the last 13 years, since it was put into place, $31 billion has been saved thus far. And this shows the amount each year as it keeps growing. Currently, the state of Wisconsin's surplus is over $3 billion. Other states deal with billions of deficits because of powerful unions and extravagant fringe benefits. Prior to 2011, teachers and other public sector employees never had to contribute to their pensions or pay for their health insurance, something most people have to do in the private sector. That's why in February of 2011, the Wisconsin State Capitol was taken over for months by thousands of insurrectionists. Hopefully, we will never return to those days. According to the Fond du Lac Reporter last week, a survey administered on surveys administered by the DPI, school districts reported that compensation was one of the top reasons they had lost teachers. Jill Underly, who heads DPI, called on lawmakers to increase funding allowances for public schools after years of capping them at levels that haven't kept up with inflation. Are lawmakers keeping the same or cutting state money to public schools? The answer is no. Total state spending on education this year has increased 4.9%. The budget before this budget, was increased 5.8%. And before that, it was 4.9% increase. Every year, it's been increased. Somebody is not passing this money on to teachers. The reality is that every budget routinely includes an historic increase in public education funding. If school districts are losing aid, it's most likely due to declining enrollments. The median family income in Wisconsin is $77,300, according to the Federal Reserve. That's comparing individual 9 months that a teacher gets income to an entire family's 12-month income. On the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction website, you can see Final X 2022, 2023 average wage of teachers, and it's $62,400. And the fringe benefit is the average is $29,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Is there anyone else that would like to approach the board during this public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will close the first public comment for the evening and move on to the approval of the consent resolution agenda. The board members have been provided background material and information on each item or have discussed it at a previous meeting. These items will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. Any board member may remove an item from the agenda. This item will then be discussed and voted on separately under the agenda item of individually considered resolutions.
I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. Chief of Finance Operations, number 1, bi-monthly financial statement. Number 2, personnel recommendation, resignations, and limited term contract.
Motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey to approve the consent resolution agenda. Can we have the roll, please?
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth, yes. Lavrens,
Yes.
Pinau,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next, we will move on to individually considered resolutions. Chief of Finance and Operations, are you taking this one?
Yep,
Dr.
I'll
Flagg?
take it.
Dr. Flagg?
Good evening. I'm pleased to recommend, do you have to make a motion first, or can I talk first? Probably make a motion first, yeah, I should probably wait.
I move the Board of Education approve administrative contract for Kathy Przansky as the principal of Roberts Elementary School effective August 8, 2024, at a salary of $111,943 for 211 days based on the 23-24 administrator salary plan, with the salary for 24-25 determined when salaries are established for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. Dr. Flagg?
I'm very pleased to bring Kathy Przansky to you this evening to be considered for approval to take over at Roberts Elementary School. She has served as an elementary school principal since 2011. She served in Wausau for 7 years, spearheading an increase in student achievement that led her school to be named a Blue Ribbon Award-winning school the year after she left. And then for the last 4 years, she has worked in the Madison Metropolitan School District. Ms. Przansky has a 13-year history of leadership and exceptional level experience with students with disabilities, and she will be an excellent addition to our leadership team, and we're really pleased to welcome her. Additionally, I want to share just remind the Board of Education for principal hires, they go through a minimum of 2 interviews and at times a third interview. With these elementary candidates, they went through all 3 rounds. So the first round of interviews is with the administrative team and representatives from the individual school. The second interview is with all principals, and the third interview is with our consulting firm that independently measures competencies in school leadership. So it's a pretty robust process, and we're really pleased to bring Kathy to you tonight to be considered for your approval.
Any questions at all? Seeing none, can we have the roll, please?
Horth, yes. Lavrens,
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Welcome to Ms. Brzezinski, Roberts Elementary School.
Yeah, oops, go ahead.
Next motion.
I gotta wait.
I move the Board of Education approve the administrative contract for Melanie Snybarth as the principal at Chegwin Elementary School effective August 8, 2024, at a salary of $99,785 to 211 days based on the 2023-24 administrative salary plan with the salary for 2024-25 determined when salaries are established for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
We're going to go.
can defer.
Motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mrs. Orth. Dr. Flagg.
Yes, I'm pleased to welcome Ms. Steinbarth I'm pleased to bring her forward tonight for approval. She began teaching the Fond du Lac School District in 2005, and she spent 15 years at Chegwin Elementary School before moving to Lakeshore, where she taught 1 year before becoming the TOSA there. She moved back to Chegwin this past school year to serve as a TOSA. Ms. Steinbarth has been an integral part of the change at Chegwin, and we are confident that her deep knowledge of instruction will help continue to drive the upward trajectory of Chegwin. As you know, Chegwin is quite a different school from when I arrived, and is really I'm confident they're going to do very well this year on the state report card, and we'd like to welcome her to our team. And once again, Ms. Steinbarth also went through the same interview process as I just described the 3 interviews.
Could, just for the public, I know we had discussion, evaluation and stuff like that.
Well, yes, Mr. Steinbarth, her husband, will be moving into the chief academic officer role, and principals are supervised by myself and the chief of schools position. So there will be no Mr. Steinbarth will not be evaluating Mrs. Steinbarth.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions at all? Can we have the roll, please?
Lavrens,
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth, yes. Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Welcome to Melanie Steinbarth as the new principal at Chegwin Elementary School. Next, we'll move on to the considered designation of public depositories.
I move the Board of Education designate the following banking institutions as qualified public depositories for the Fond du Lac School District under Chapter 120.12 of the Wisconsin statutes. National Exchange Bank and Trust of Fond du Lac, U.S. Bank of Fond du Lac, Associated Bank of Fond du Lac, Chase Bank of Fond du Lac, Fox Valley Savings Bank of Fond du Lac, Bank First Fond du Lac, BMO Harris Bank Fond du Lac, BMO Harris Bank Milwaukee, Fond du Lac Credit Union Fond du Lac, Marine Credit Union Fond du Lac, State of Wisconsin Local Government Investment Pool Madison, WISC, which is the Wisconsin Investment Series Cooperative, and Mid-America.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey to consider this designation. Mr. Gerlach, do you have anything to update us on? Are there any new ones? Anyone?
No, this is an annual review, and as I'll just make note for the record, the district primarily has its primary banking transaction with National Exchange Bank and Trust, but these are longstanding financial institutions, and so we keep them on our financial services list as optional firms to work with. But so I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
And I think we've had this conversation in the past. I mean, there's a lot of people say, why so many? And a lot of the grade schools, I know elementary schools have relationships with different institutions for education, and they come on and stuff like that. And it's just, good to have them all on the list.
That's correct.
So,
Any other questions, comments for Mr. Gerlach? Can we have the roll, please?
Panau,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
yes.
Horth, yes. Lavrens,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next up will be to authorize signature stamps. Board Policy 6108 authorizes a facsimile electronic replica signature stamp for use on all checks and certain other documents requiring signatures of board members. Authorization is required to continue to use the old stamp until a new one reflecting the new officers can be made.
I move that the the present facsimile electronic replica signature stamp be used until the containing the signatures of newly elected board officers are obtained.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel. Any questions on that?
Do we still have a fax machine?
Facsimile.
Yeah, it's just,
Facsimile.
well, didn't know those were still used.
They are still used.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm the anti-technology guy.
Can we have the roll, please?
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth, yes. Lavrens.
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next, we will, under board approvals, consider board compensation. Policy 0144.1 provides for the establishment of board compensation, which becomes effective with the organizational meeting of the board. I will make the motion for this one, that the Board of Education, in accordance with Board Policy 0144.1 compensation, establish a level of compensation for the 2024-2025 year of board member service be established at $1,600 for the vice president, clerk, treasurer, and other members, as well as $1,800 for the president, which would be the same as it has been in previous years.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schreider, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. Any questions at all?
I would like to put out there, I know there's historical data that we got as far as information on where we fall with the surrounding communities. Looking at this, Green Bay pays $7,500. Everybody around here, North Fond du Lac's $2,050. Oshkosh is $2,100. So I just want to make that point that I'm looking at this and it looks like we are the second lowest behind Oakfield by $100. So Camel Sport's $2,200. Just throw that out there. So
Any other questions, thoughts? Can we have the roll call, please?
Henschel,
yes.
Horth, yes. Lavrens.
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next, we are up to appointing the WASB delegate and alternate. The board annually appoints one member as a delegate and one as an alternate to the, what's that?
I'm messing with him.
We're pointing.
WASB convention in January. This year's convention will be held January 22nd through the 24th in 2025.
Do we want, do we have volunteers on that before we do the motion? All right. How about alternate? Katie's not here.
I mean, yeah, I'll
alternate?
be
Okay.
an alternate.
All right. I thought I'd ask before I just
Yeah.
throw names out.
No, it sounds interesting.
I move that the Board of Education appoint board member Antonio Godfrey as delegate and board member Joel Everens as alternate for 2025 Wisconsin Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. Any questions, thoughts? Seeing none, can we have the roll, please?
Horth, yes. Lavrens.
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Godfrey, Mr. Lavrens, thank you very much for your participation in this ever-important endeavor.
It's fun.
Next, we will move on to the board administrator reports. I will turn this over to Dr. Flagg.
Good evening. I just need to inform the board of a field trip that's going to be going out of state, not far out of state, but it's going to be going over to Gurnee, Illinois. Our STEM Institute is going to be taking a field trip to Six Flags, and I just need to let the board know that they're for all out-of-state travel. So I'm just letting you know that they'll be heading to Six Flags on May 30th as part of their end-of-the-year trip. And then just remind the board that we'll have a meeting on May 6th to review the QD grant applications. So I just wanted to remind you that it'll be a board workshop. It will not be an actual meeting. There will be no action taken that evening. So, it's just for a workshop so you guys can determine where you want the QD grants to go. So That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Next, we will move on to board member, student, and staff activities. Joe, you were not a part, go ahead, were you in this, anything this week?
I haven't been to any of the schools yet. I'm still working out my schedule to try and get there during actual school hours. But I was down at the library to see that student exhibit. That was pretty sweet.
And we will, I will come up with the school schedule as well for who's in what schools. I have to do that yet, so. Mr. Henschel?
This last week, I was able to get at Rosno, met with Mr. Wolfert there, walked through the halls. It happened to be on a day where they had 5 teachers absent for illnesses or deaths in the family, things like that. So a little bit of chaos going on at Rosno that day. Ended up then at Waters. Got to see some of the things we're doing there, and some of the adjustments that we'll be seeing coming, this next year. And then also over to Pyre, which is my kids' alma mater. So a lot of newer faces. There's only a couple people that have still there from the times when my kids were participating. And then also multiple different sporting events, track, Sunruns track, so I get to go to all those. Last Friday, West Bend, there's like 18 schools. We actually finished in the top 10. So we were at 5th. I think we ended up at 7th or something like that. So we're great participation. I think our track team has over 120 students participating in it, which is great to see that we're starting to see more and more of that, and we're getting competitive, which is fun. We need some long distance runners. That's what we really need. We had, yeah. I was thinking of you, Todd. I was thinking of you. Yeah, I mean, we had some 3,200, 16. We had some long distance. Yeah, that we didn't have any participants in those races, which we were at 5th place at the time. And that, when you don't have, scoring going on, you start dropping a few. So yeah, we really need some long distance runners.
I might have some eligibility left.
Yeah. Well, medical red shirt, yeah.
Mrs. Horth?
On Saturday, my family and I went to the Goodrich Theater to see Finding Nemo Jr., which was very cute. My kids absolutely loved it. There were, this year, I feel like a lot of very young children in the audience. Makes sense based on the musical, but just seeing the little kids excited about the bigger kids up on stage and getting that participation hopefully will grow that program even more. But it was a really cute play. We liked it.
Ms. Pennell?
I was not able to visit any schools this week.
Mr. Godfrey?
I only got one. I was able to today to go over to Evans Elementary School today and read to a couple classes, and it was fun, and it's to see those kids the way they light up when they see people from that they don't normally see walk in those doors, and to come in and interact with them, it's a joy to see. So thank you for Nick Schultes and his staff over at Evans for inviting me over to share with them today. It was just fun. So that's it.
All right, and mine is also going to give a huge shout out to the Woodworth team over for Finding Nemo Jr., the amount of effort that goes through, and Brittany said it, seeing the young kids, how they reacted in the audience, the amount of effort that goes through to put production on like that. For the kids to do that and step outside their comfort zone as well, to be on stage, I think is huge as part of their learning curve as they grow up. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to them. And then I will also be in the next couple weeks heading over to Evans to read as well. So looking forward to that. So
Could I throw a shout out there? Next 2 Mondays, we are hosting our first track meets in our new facilities. So May 6th and May 13th is we're actually hosting conference on May 13th. So that's a big privilege, to have in our conference, and it's a huge meet. So if we can go out there and support our runners, or our field, track and field. So throwers and runners, that'd be great for that. So
would we have had that opportunity before?
No. Nope, we would not have that opportunity. We've always had to forfeit hosting, well, we haven't hosted any kind of real home meet and stuff like that out there, so, especially conference. I mean, conference is huge. I was at the conference meet last year up at Oshkosh West, and, I mean, their facilities is really nice at Oshkosh West. Not as nice as Oshkosh North, but, you know, Oshkosh West. But yeah, so we would not, now we have opportunities to host those type of activities, which we've never were able to before.
Okay.
Which I think hopefully is part of the reason why we have such great participation, and plus a great coach. We got a new coach that's really awesome. So,
Awesome. Thank you to all of you for all that you do in the schools. We are going to move on to the second public comment session this evening. The same rules apply. Please remember 10 minutes per topic, 5 minutes per person. If there is anyone else that would like to come up during this time period and address the board, please feel free.
Shari Trotter. So a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to give roses to people while they're still here. And I am giving them to Miss Spohn for the third person to speak tonight about the musical from Woodworth. It was fantastic. And she does this every single year since my kids even went to Woodworth. She's fabulous. She builds relationships with all of those kids. She had so many kids doing, stage crew and the whole music. It was just fantastic. So I wanted to say that. We also have one of our Fondy alumni entered the NFL draft that's coming up this week. So that's exciting for an alumni. And good luck to Braylon. And then I still can't get out of my head about when we did that survey about how our students feel, if they belong or not, and over half of them feel like they don't belong, 53%. And I was just thinking about it this weekend because I feel like our district believes in every day is a new day in our district for the staff and the students and everybody in the building. Every day is a new day. And I'm just wondering if that's not being done and people aren't checking in to make sure that adults are every day is a new day, then I can probably also see why 53% of students feel like they don't belong. So I'm just giving a personal example today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Linda Usselman, 263 East Cotton Street. Greetings from the other side of the podium. I hear there's a lot of free speech over here. So I just wanted to address a couple things that were said tonight that I was wondering about. The first was that as the things that we were supposed to be teaching students were enumerated from the law, skills needed to cope with social change was one of them. And then a few sentences later, keep that stuff out. Where are we supposed to come down on that? Not sure. And also the idea about local values. I'm interested about local values because we've had some a very narrow set of views expressed at these podiums over the years, and I would really love to hear more from more people because I'd really love a better pulse on what our local values are. And so who is that that's really deciding what our local values are? Is it just the loudest people, or how does that work? Then in respect to Act 10, Act 10 had a lot of effects, one of which, of course, was reduced costs. And those, just FYI, those extravagant fringe benefits which teachers were not contributing to. The reason that those existed was because teachers gave up salary increases years over years in order to have increased benefits so that they would still get somewhat of a better take-home result. And that was actually advantageous to the taxpayers because those benefits were untaxed. So, we lost that when we lost the battle for Act 10. Act 10 has increased teacher turnover. It has not helped student achievement. There has been a reduction in teacher salaries overall. Someone cited, I think, that they're below the state average in their salaries now, even though they are required to have a lot of training to do what they do. And the greatest effect on student achievement is the educator in front of their room, aside from family circumstances. So when we lose that experience and we lose that valuable teacher group, we are kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. In 1993, revenue limits were imposed, but they were supposed to be linked to inflation. That went away with Act 10. So even though there has been this fantastic cost savings, and where's all that money going? Well, those increases have not kept up with inflation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing that there is none, we will close the second public comment for the evening and move on to additional appropriate matters. Does anyone have one for this topic? Seeing that we have none, we will move for an adjournment to an executive session to consider the administration's recommendation to non-renew an individual teacher contract as provided for in Wisconsin statutes 19.85, 1C, E, and F.
I move the Board of Education during the regular meeting, convene an executive session to consider the administration's recommendation to non-renew an individual teacher contract as provided for in Wisconsin statutes 19.85, 1C, and F. C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where paragraph B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey for adjournment. Could we have the roll, please?
Lavrens,
Yes.
Panow,
Yes.
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth, yes, Schreider.
Yes. The regular meeting of the Board of Education is adjourned at 5:45 PM. We will be back in executive session at 5:50 PM.